Well, hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Walking Through the Scriptures with Joseph Pahoda. I want to do a quick video talking about part 2 of a video that I did last week, talking about, church coverings and pastoral coverings and how they teach it is unbiblical. I'm going to do part 2 today, talking about, well, since it is unbiblical, then why do certain pastors, why do they want to connect with celebrity pastors? And so why do a lot of these pastors, why do they want to connect with a T.D. Jakes? Or a Kenneth Copeland, or a Creflo Dollar, or so on and so forth. Why do these pastors want to come and contact and partner, and what they basically say, be in covenant? That's a whole other video I did too in the past, how Word of Faith preachers they misuse the word covenant, and as far as how they teach it. But why do they want to come in covenant with these mega celebrity rock star pastors? Okay, well, again, it goes back to Psalm 133, and it says, how good and pleasant it is for when God's people live together in unity. It is like precious oil poured on the head, running down on the beard, running down on Aaron's beard, down on the whole collar of his robe. See, and they use that, these Word of Faith pimps use that to say, see, just like the oil runs down in his beard and runs down in his garment and eventually runs down into his robe and runs down into his feet. See, if you come in contact, if you come in covenant, if you become a member of this church, saints, that same wealth transfer, that wealth anointing, that health anointing, that working in signs and wonders and miracles anointing is eventually going to run down on you. So therefore, you want the bishop to have a private jet. You want the bishop to have a $1 million, $3, $4, $5 million home. You want him to have the Benz and the Bentleys and the Mercedeses and the Cadillacs and Lamborghinis and all that, and his wife to be pimping a $2 million ring or whatever. I'm making that up, but you understand what I'm saying. You want these pastors to have that and live the life of luxury, because as that wealth anointing runs down them, if you're in covenant or if you're a member of this church, somehow that wealth anointing is going to run on you, and then you're going to operate in wealth as well. Saints, again, you do realize that, one, that's not true, and it doesn't work like that, and it doesn't work at all. The only people getting richer are the people on top, and the reason why that is, saints, is you can probably tell by now, this is a pyramid scheme, okay? This is a pyramid scheme, and to point that out, so that's the reason why these pastors want to come in covenant, or they want to basically fall under the umbrella of these celebrity pastors. They love saying, T.D. Jakes is my spiritual father, or Creflo Dollar is my spiritual father, or, Kenneth Copeland is my spiritual father, or whatever. They love saying that for two reasons. Number one, because it gives them name recognition. They love dropping T.D. Jakes' name. They love dropping Creflo Dollar's name. They love the name dropping, because what it does, and this is also too, in a lot of these pastors' churches, you'll see them with pictures of like Kenneth Copeland or T.D. Jakes. They took selfies and then they'll print it out, and then they'll have these framed pictures on their wall. So when people come into the pastor's office, they see all of these famous people that they hang out with on their wall or in the church. Why? Because if I can prove that I have connections to a T.D. Jakes or a Joel Osteen or a, Kenneth Copeland or whoever, if I can prove that I have, connections with these people, and if I can name drop these people, like I can say like T.D. Jakes is my spiritual father, it gives me name recognition because I know them. And then what it does is it gives me clout in the Christian game. See, it gives me clout and social recognition within the Christian church. And what happens, and people are, oh, Pastor, you're so anointed. Oh, Pastor, you're right up there with the bishops of the world. Oh, Pastor, you're so anointed. You're so powerful. I love your sermons. Oh, Pastor, oh, Pastor, oh, Pastor. And one of the reasons that they want that, or they're getting that, is because of the brown nosing that they have done in networking and knowing the Joel Osteens and knowing the T.D. Jakeses and knowing the Creflo Dollars and knowing the Kenneth Copelands or whoever. Or if you're a female, you may know Paula White, you may know Joyce Meyer, you may know Anita Bynum or whatever, or Beth Moore or whomever, because it gives you name recognition. So they do this name dropping. They drop these famous names to give them clout in their social status in the church. That's number one. Number two, well, real quick on that. See, that's what happened with Pastor Jamal Bryant. Remember, one of the reasons Pastor Jamal Bryant got big is because he was invited by T.D. Jakes to preach at the Mega Fest. Remember when T.D. Jakes used to host the Mega Fests in Atlanta, and Pastor Jamal Bryant. See, pastors were fighting, preachers were fighting to be on that docket. They were fighting to get on that docket. Why? Because T.D. Jakes had one of the biggest ministries in all of America. T.D. Jakes at one time was on the cover of Time magazine, and they said, is this the next Billy Graham? Is this the next black Billy Graham? And T.D. Jakes was on Time magazine. T.D. Jakes was huge. And then right around this time, he started hosting these events in Atlanta. Okay, so a lot of pastors and a lot of preachers wanted to be on that docket because they knew if they got on that docket, they were going to blow up. Okay, so that's what happened with Jamal Bryant. Now, that's also happened with, now she wasn't at MegaFest, I don't think, but that's how Juanita Bynum blew up. Juanita Bynum blew up when she did one of her sermons at the T.D. Jakes Singles Conference. She preached the sermon, No More Sheets. And that sermon, No More Sheets, at the T.D. Jakes Conference blew her up. The same thing with Pastor Jamal Bryant. He preached at a MegaFest in Atlanta. Pastor Jamal Bryant blew up overnight. See, and the pastors aren't stupid. They know how this game works. So that's why they're fighting like, crabs in a barrel to try to be on that docket so they could be the next big thing. Okay? And by the way on that, why do you think T.D. Jakes did his MegaFest in Atlanta? T.D. Jakes is out of Dallas, Texas. T.D. Jakes is out of Texas. So if they want to get all these churches together and all these Christians together, why didn't he rent out the Dallas Cowboy Stadium? No, he didn't do that. He rented out the Atlanta Falcons football stadium, and they hosted the MegaFest in Atlanta. Why is that, saints? Because most black people, or a whole bunch of black people, live in Atlanta. Atlanta is one of the biggest populated cities in America that has the most black people in it. Well, T.D. Jakes and people like that, they're very, very popular with the African-American community, particularly when he did his, series on, Woman, Thou Art Loosed and all that. Okay? So he knows who his audience is. He knows who his fan base is. So don't you think that was strategic? Don't you think T.D. Jakes did that on purpose? He went to Atlanta because that's where the black people are, and he knows that's where his audience is. Do you think that was coincidence? Do you think that he just decided to do that? Why didn't he get with the Dallas Cowboy stadiums or all those football stadiums in Dallas, or not even just in Dallas, but just in Texas, period? You mean to tell me he couldn't run out a football stadium in Texas? Texas, football is like a state religion in Texas. He could have got football stadiums for days in Texas. Why Atlanta? Could it be because of all the black people there? I think so. But anyway, so they would fight to get on that docket. They would drop those names for name recognition in the game.